today. We got some mortgage apps data that was a little lower based on higher interest rates. We didn't get the retail sales data that we were hoping for. That's going to be delayed. What we did get is some Fed speak and some news out of Venezuela. Well, let's talk about that because they've got markets moving. First, let's go with Venezuela. Now, the Trump administration put a blockade, a total blockade on all sanctioned tankers entering or leaving Venezuela. Now, sanctioned tankers, right? They've been sanctioned for a while, but they haven't been enforcing them under the other administration and earlier. Now, the Trump administration is enforcing these sanctions. This is obviously a significant escalation in U.S. and Venezuela relations. What does this do for, how long does this take? Is this regime change? Venezuela exports 590,000 barrels a day, mostly to China. They used to be as high as 3 million, but mismanagement and a different, obviously, ruling class there has diminished that to about 590,000, but most of it goes to China. That creates that problem. So watch crude oil futures based on that and a resolution of those sanctions. Now, Fed speakers. Christopher Waller spoke at the Yale CEO Summit this morning. It's a summit that Yale University has in New York City. Ed Bastian's going to get an award there today. And he talked a lot about inflation and how he is more dovish. Not only that, he's been dovish since November of last year. He's been dovish and called for lower interest rates. So he'll be proved to be really right on this. He thinks interest rates could be 50 to 100 basis points lower. He's got an interview with President Trump later on today for Fed Chair. John Williams, remember, he's the one that flipped the percentages of a rate cut from in the 20s to in the 80s and 90s with his comments on interest rates. He'll be speaking today. And then Raphael Bostic, he's the more hawkish of the three speakers today, as he's calling for a pause in interest rate cuts. He thinks inflation is the bigger problem than the labor market. I personally think there is not an inflation problem, and the Fed has to watch the labor market as unemployment hit 4.6%. So there's a lot going on here as we get towards the end of the year.